Hey guys, what's going on? Thanks for tuning back into the channel, much appreciated. And just taking a little bit of time for today's video, give you guys a little update on my dad. He's finally setting up. They got him out of the hospital bed. He's sitting up in a chair, so he's a little bit dizzy there, but at least he's in a chair, and I think he's going to start maybe trying to, take some steps with the walker over the next couple days. So it's going to be a slow recovery, but he's through the worst of it, I think, which is good. And I'm actually doing a tip here. I got my truck in the shop today, getting a new radiator put in it. Guess with 400,000 miles on the truck like I've got, this stuff's to be expected. So going to do that, and just wanted to do today's video on the bad days on the water when everybody has bad days, and basically just have a conversation about, it's okay to have a bad day, the best way to handle it, the best way to turn it around, and just sort of have a little discussion on it. So, the thing about it, it's like bass fishing, there are so many uncontrolled variables to it and controlled variables that everybody's going to have bad days on the water. You cannot avoid it. I don't care who you are. Bass fishing's like life in a lot of, senses, and the fact that it's cyclical. I mean, it's all a balance, it's like there's an ebb and flow to everything. It's the same with bass fishing. And yeah, everybody would like to go out there and just catch them every single day and have the day go smooth, but that's just not the way it works. I mean, you're going to have those bad days, and the key is how you deal with those bad days. And it's all about how you choose to look at it, because nobody forces you to look at a day as it being good or bad. There's a lot of different angles you can attack that from. So a lot of it just depends on, sort of your frame of mind surrounding what's going down. But, a lot of things can spin out of control and, cause you to have a bad day. I mean, you can get spun out. You hear people talking about getting spun out a lot. And I'm telling you guys right now, it is easy to get spun out in a day's fishing. It doesn't take much. I mean, you can be having, a decent day on the water, or maybe you can have just, a day that's marginal, and then you can all of a sudden something happens, like you can lose a couple key fish, you can have some motor issues, you can have somebody on your spot, you can have, your water got too dirty overnight, the water dropped too much, the water came up too much. There's a lot of things that can spin you out in the course of a day's time, and how you handle that will determine a lot if something is going to be a bad day, or to the extent of how bad it's going to be. So the first thing I want to sort of tell you guys, I want to sort of give you, and this is stuff that I've learned the hard way over years and years of frustrations and bad days on the water myself, because I've had a lot of bad days, I can tell you that right now. But the first thing you have to do is you have to compartmentalize your thoughts a little bit on the day. I mean, you can't let one event overwhelm you for the day. So the first thing you have to do is that if you run up against a situation that's challenging or something, and it could be a variety of things. It could be, like I said, your motor blowing, or you can have a couple, big fish come off or something like that. Instead of dwelling on that particular problem, you have got to turn it into some type of a solution. If your motor breaks down, make the best of it. Put that trolling motor down, go to the near bank, and just, try to catch a few fish, or try to get your motor fixed, in best way you can. If you lose a couple big fish, you have got to shake it off, and don't tell yourself, God, I just blew it, I lost two big ones. You have to tell yourself, man, I got those two big fish to bite, I've got the right bait, I'm in the right area, I'm doing the right thing, I'll get the bites I need. So a lot of it is just sort of, playing mental games with yourself a little bit. But what happens in the bigger context of it is, once you have a bad day on the water, if you're not careful, it will extend into other bad days. Because, in bass fishing and a lot of things we do in life, success breeds success, failure breeds failure. There's a mystique around that. I'm going to address that at some point. At some point on the channel here, I'm going to start having the subjects, set aside for more like the mental stuff I'm talking about now versus the technique stuff. But for the main part, what I want to talk about is you can't give a bad day any power, or it will repeat itself. You know, there's a lot of reasons why that will happen, but you have got to nip it in the bud, and you've got to neutralize it. Don't really look at a bad day as a bad day. You have to look at it as a learning experience. And I know that's hard to do. If you guys are having a bad day and you got your championships on the line as far as qualifying for the championship, or if you're down to your last dollar and you need to make a check in this tournament you're in to make your mortgage payment, and it doesn't look like you're going to, that's another situation. A lot of the stress that we put on ourselves surrounding a bad day is, to a big degree, your financial situation. Because if you're independently wealthy and you got no money issues to worry about, a bad day is not that big of a deal, because in the bigger picture, it's not going to make any difference if you pay your bills or eat. But if you're in the situation, and I've been in that situation before, where you have got to perform and you have got to have a good day, or you're going to be in financial straits, that is what magnifies that tremendously as far as the effect of the bad day that you're having. So the thing that you have to do is, you just got to tell yourself it's going to be all right. Everything's going to be fine. It doesn't matter if you catch them or if you don't catch them, it's still going to work out all right. And when you do that, you take a lot of the tension away from yourself during the day, and it allows you to relax. Because the thing that you're going to find is, every single time you have a setback on the water that's making you have a bad day, you tense up a little bit. You get a little bit tighter in your stomach. Your breathing gets shallower. Your mental focus gets more attentive on the negatives instead of the positives. So once you tell yourself that it's just going to be okay, it's not that big of a deal, it's like in 150 years from now, I'm not going to know anything about this type of a thing, that immediately takes a lot of tension off you to allow you to relax. Because things that will propel you into a bad day, the quicker that you can acknowledge that and try to change that, it's okay. And at some point, you've almost got to get, you almost have to have a good sense of humor about it. Because I've seen sometimes where I remember this. Remember this one tournament. I was fishing the FLW tournament at Grand Lake. It was it was about 4 years ago, and it was the June tournament at Grand Lake FLW. The first day of the tournament, I had a little over 20 pounds, and I was in second place. But I lost 2 7-pounders that first day, so I should have had a 10-pound lead after day one, the first day of the tournament. And the second day of the tournament, I went to my key area, and there was a boat sitting on it that had not been there the first day. And it was like, that created its own sense of problems, and sort of, spun me out a little bit. And then I made an adjustment, and I went to my secondary pattern, and I started getting bit like crazy, but I could not get them in the boat. It's like I lost like my first 9 fish in a row. It didn't matter what I did. I changed hook sets, I changed hooks, I changed everything. I could not get them in the boat. And eventually, and I wound up only catching 2 fish that day. I'm sorry, I caught a small limit that day, like 10 or 11 pounds like that dropped me, down like to 20th place in the standings. But eventually, after about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I just had to start laughing about it, because I'm like, I should have had a 15, 20 pound lead after the second day of the tournament. And instead, I was just, barely made a check after the second day. So at times like that, when it's like everything is going wrong, you just sort of have to scratch it out after it's just sort of one of those days. And the most important thing about having a bad day, guys, is if you have a bad day and you continue maybe to have a series of bad days, and those bad days turn into a little bit of slump, you cannot dwell on the fact that you had a bad day or you're in a slump. If you give in to the fact that you had a bad day and it's going to continue, you'll have to create that reality. And the only way that you get past that is you got to just take the power away from that, and you just keep fishing. You just fish your way through it. And that is how you get past a bad day, and that's how you get past slumps, is just fishing your way through it. Because every single day that you're out there, you're a better angler than you were, you know, the day before or the year before. I don't care what your success level is. You know, when I was at the top of my game back in the early 2000s and, you know, in the top 10 in Angler of the Year every year and knocking on door to win tournaments, you know, consistently, I'm a better angler now than I was then, even though maybe the results don't show it, but I know more about fishing. I understand the bass more. I know more about the mental side of it. So don't allow, you know, your growth as an angler to be judged by the, you know, what people perceive as success, because, you know, we're all doing this. We don't have to compare ourselves to anybody else. You don't have to compare your success on the water to Jacob Wheeler or, you know, anybody like that. I mean, everybody, you know, is out there doing the best that they can. And finally, like I said, just don't beat yourself up. I mean, you got to be kind to yourself. I mean, like I said, everybody out there has a different set of circumstances. Everybody has got challenges that other people may not know about. Everybody's got stressors in their life that other people don't know about. And those things always, they can add up to having a bad day or a good day. But anyway, I just wanted to talk a little bit about a bad day on the water. Don't give it too much energy. Don't get bummed out about it. It happens to all of us. There's nobody that's immune to it out there. Guys, I have had more bad days on the water than most people have had days on the lake, period. So I can tell you exactly how it goes. And I could sit here for the next 8 hours and tell you nothing but heartbreak stories of fishing tournaments for the last 40 years. So I know what it's like. I know what it's like to have a bad day. And I know what it's like to have great days on the water too. So it's just part of it. But anyway, be good to yourself, be kind to yourself. Don't get too stressed out about it. It's not a big deal. Like I said, in the bigger picture, it just doesn't make that big of a difference anyway. So anyway, I hope that little tidbit helps somebody maybe here or there, and we'll see y'all later. Bye.